nice to be with these highly competent, very nice and successful entrepreneurs and business people. And it's a privilege to be here. Dubai has really become the center of pretty much all activity that involves fintech in the global south. And sometimes you just have to enjoy the weather and the beautiful restaurants and people. So all good stacks of reasons to be here. I want to start off today by just exploring some of the backgrounds of the people involved. Starting with you, Sep, in really talking about your journey as a venture capitalist. How did you get to where you are? How did you manage to get involved in a $1.5 billion fund, managing a $150 million crypto sleeve? And what is your firm known for? And what do you look for in successful companies? And what kind of exits have you had in the past?
There you go. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you, Reza, and thank you for having me today. So my journey started in traditional finance, like many others. I was born on the trading floor, if you will, mainly in New York in the early 2000s. And right after the 2008 financial crisis, the capital markets were becoming extremely commoditized, and I wanted a new challenge, and I wanted something different. So I started angel investing. Friends of mine were starting companies, and it was interesting for me to join them and participate in their growth. And I kind of caught the bug, if you will, with something more substantial, helping entrepreneurs build companies. And I decided to change careers and switch over to private investing and joined a family office. We started investing in real estate and tech, and that's where we first made our investment into the crypto space by way of Ethereum. This was 2015. Ethereum had just launched, and that technology, to me, really was so disruptive that I decided that I wanted to spend the rest of my career learning about it, investing on it, building on it, etc. As I wanted to grow and continue that path, wanted to do something more institutional, I joined White Star Capital, and here I am today as a venture capital representing White Star.
Cool. And what kind of exits have you had, and what made those exits successful in your view in terms of market, product, and team fit?
So we've been around since 2014, initially as a transatlantic fund, and then grew larger. Today we're 40 people across Canada, US, Europe, UK, and now we established an office here in the UAE. We initially started investing at the early stages of consumer internet and direct-to-consumer businesses. So one of our first exits was Dollar Shave Club. I don't know if anyone remembers this company, a simple subscription shaving company for men that got acquired by Unilever for $1 billion. We also invested early in a company called Freshly that was homemade healthy foods prepped, delivered to your doorsteps within 24 hours. That got sold to Nestle for $1.5 billion. On the fintech side, we're a large investor in a company called Percent, a New York-based private credit company. And on the digital asset side, I would name Ledden, which is a Bitcoin-backed lending company that is now a Series C, massive business, mainly in emerging markets, where people get dollars against their Bitcoins over-collateralized. Those are the kind of as you see, very diversified business models. But my focus has been, fintech first and more into the digital asset space since 2015.
Great. We'll get into what made those companies successful later and what you look for. But Hari, over to you as a asset manager and a bank executive. You're kind of at the forefront of innovation on the product side and heading product over there. Tell us a little bit about GDB and what are the innovations you guys exploring now? Is it digital assets? Is it KYC? I mean, give us a range if you don't mind.
Yep. Good morning, all. So, Hariraj. I'm from Gulf International Bank. We are headquartered in Bahrain, but we have a very strong presence across GCC. 97% owned by public investment fund. So, just a quick background. Now, global transaction banking, we are providing solutions typically for the large corporates across the region. That's been the focus area, mainly managing their working capital, more from cash and trade perspective. One space that we are focusing on is to digitize the entire treasury management process and solution for some of the corporate treasurers. Back to your question, there are certain areas that we have implemented where we have applied AI in our part of our process. For example, recently we have launched trade automation. I'm not sure how many bankers are here, or at least corporate. Trade involves a lot of documentation. It involves a lot of manual checking and vice versa. And most of the time, the process of cleaning up or ratifying the document itself takes hours, if it's not days. This is where we have applied sort of machine learning on the document, where we do the entire doc check through an AI before we send it for processing. So from days, that has helped us. Of course, it was a journey. It took us almost, I think, close to 18, 19 months for us to fine-tune the process. Now we are able to do a lot of doc check, in a couple of minutes rather than hours. So these are some of the application use cases that we have applied across. What we have also done is now we'll extend this tool back to the clients itself. So rather than sending it to us, we'll do an automation here. There is an opportunity for the client to upload, do the rectification on their end before handing it over to the corporate itself. So it's just one example. I think we have a few more in the space of cash flow forecasting, which is one of the pain point key areas that most of the corporate treasurers are facing today. In the current situation, even to understand what's your flow like for a month period, I think that's a good thing. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to extend this period to at least 13, 14 months to give a bit more accurate predictive analysis.
Got it. And just a personal question. If you were not in banking, what would you be doing?
To be honest, I'm quite envy in the way you guys are dressed up compared to me. That just shows, how the whole industry has changed as well. If it's not a banker, finance was never been my area. I think I started off from technology. There's some association that I could bring into business, because there's always a gap to understand the technology applying and institutionalizing from a corporate perspective. So probably in the tech, somewhere in the technology space.
So you're an entrepreneur in banker's clothing, basically.
Why not?
There's a lot of us out there. Over to an entrepreneur, Robin. Really excited to have you here. Robin is a very successful entrepreneur, built one of the biggest cloud businesses in China. You raised $100 million from people like Lightspeed, which is the top firm in the United States. And tell us a little bit about the business, but also the journey that took you there. Like, how did you go from your corporate job into being a founder? How did you build a network that trusted you enough to give you $100 million? And just give us a flavor of how you got to where you are right now.
Okay, thank you, Reza. Thank you for having me today here. I'm actually not a financial background. I'm totally engineer. So my whole career is focusing on building great software. So I worked, before I started my own business, I worked for EMC, VMware, Oracle for a couple of years. And so when I wanted to start this business, it's because I'm long time focusing on research on the technology trends. So I realized there is a huge two trends happening. First, that we are not satisfied today is most of the application. Especially, we see a lot of application innovation scenario around driven by user interface, AI. So this is a huge wave, that huge trend that everything's changed, just like crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin. This is all application scenario. This is a huge change. And there is also another huge change is the whole digital infrastructure is quite different from a previous way. We have a lot of words coming into every people's mind about cloud, big data, AI, GPU, all this stuff. This is another big trend. So these two trends actually brings conflicts. these conferences need to be better managed and orchestrated. So I was keep thinking about this, how to solve the problem for about 8 years. And also before I started this my own startup, I also be part of my previous company is a spin-off, a new startup from a traditional company to solve the problem. But I started to realize
you were at EMC before.
yes, before, and
big firm.
yeah, that's a happy hour because at that time is EMC. We have a superstar team. You have Joe Tucci, you know, he's a rocking star for the industry. You have Pat Gelsinger. Today he is the CEO of Intel. So at that time, they have a super billion people around you, and you start to realize definitely there is a new thing what can happen. So back to my story, in 2015, I decided to quit my job. My vision is actually very crazy, just like I share you tomorrow. I believe there's one thing need to be changed, is a very important part for the whole IT system. It's an old phrase. It's called operating system. So we have two dramatic change, but no one is thinking about the change. The fundamental thing of this, the most critical part, it's actually operating system. And the operating system is sustain the application scenario, and also it's be responsible to manage the infrastructure. So most of the conflicts we're facing today is we don't have a new operating system to solve those two conflicts. So that's the reason I come up with the idea to start my own company, focusing on, it's very tough industry, right? That's to build a new operating system. So I would like to, that's the reason I name my company called the DAO Cloud. Cloud means new infrastructure. We all believe cloud will be the new infrastructure. But DAO is my operating system's vision. A lot of people know the phrase about DAO. DAO actually means the decentralized autonomous organization. But this is also the philosophy, I believe, for the future operating system should take the responsibility to build a decentralized orchestration system. So that means we are facing multi-cloud challenge today. So if we can solve the problem from the operating system, so no one will be facing that dramatic challenge to handle different architecture. And also you have to support modern application transformation on this uncertainty on the infrastructure level. So this is the mission of DAO Cloud from day one.
Awesome, and it also provides resiliency and capacity. And,
yeah, right.
You know, all these
yeah,
things.
all this stuff, and how enterprise customer can embrace that. So that's the reason I started the journey to work with a lot of financial institutions about 8 years ago. And my most of my seeding customer reference case happened in China because 8 years ago, the whole China society are taking a dramatic transformation from, especially from financial institution. Just like Bank 3.0 book mentions, all the scenario happened in China. No one goes to the branch, no one goes to ATM, everything goes digital. So this is a huge opportunity for me to prove that this technology can solve the problem. Yeah.
Great. We'll delve into that a little bit later. Moving to another entrepreneur, Alex. We had dinner last night, a lovely evening. And what I learned from you is, as an entrepreneur, your mission is to solve a problem. That's what an entrepreneur is at the end of the day. You know, we're here to solve problems in the world. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what are the problems that you're trying to solve through the company and the products you're facing?
Hello, everybody. Very glad to be here. Also, just like you, I'm an engineer. And if I wasn't in the blockchain and fintech world, I probably would be building airplanes.
Boeing will need you.
Right. Thank you. I entered blockchain world in 2012. Well, it's when I purchased my first Bitcoin. Then I had a time gap dedicated to other projects, and finally was introduced to a team of programmers who already had something in the works. And I was fascinated by the technology, and I realized, it was like a revelation to me, I realized that this is the future. Back in 2018, it did not directly connect to the fintech yet. It did in 2021 when we got outrun, because we were proud to announce in 2018 that we were the fastest blockchain in the world. It was like 1 million transactions per second. We did it multiple times, actually here in Dubai, 2019. And suddenly somebody outruns us like by 10 times. Somebody claims, South California, some team, claims that they have 5 million transactions per second, and we are all distressed, and we're sitting and like, we are just entered the rat race, just cannot win. And suddenly we realized that we have to make a great leap forward, and I asked a question, I said, guys, why don't we, instead of transferring from wallet A to wallet B, why don't we create a way to transfer the ownership of wallet A to another person? And since that's impossible to be done in a conventional way because private key cannot be changed. So when I transfer my wallet to you now, both of us know the private key. In the real world, it doesn't work. Only one can have a key. We came up with a model when every wallet became a web page, highly encrypted, and luckily I had a team which was comprised of people of 40 years of experience in programming. One guy used to design a decentralized software for submarines in the 80s. I'm very fortunate to be part of that team, and we came up with a way. And at that moment, we realized that we can change the way world sees money, the way money is perceived, because money is perceived as a bad thing. Poor policies, poorly designed algorithms leading to inflation, unrest in the world, and all these kind of things, which we can talk a lot about. But I'm not a politician, I'm an engineer after all, and we came up with a way to synthesize a new product, because blockchain is not a product, blockchain is a technology. And that's what we came to understand in 2021. Blockchain is a technology. And now we had a product. And that's when the story really began in the end of 2021.
That's great, and we'll delve a little bit into how governments and monetary systems work and how they can use your product. But just back to you, Sep, when you look at these two entrepreneurs that are probably a little bit more later stage than you're comfortable investing in because of the valuations, what do you look for in entrepreneurs? What are the characteristics, whether it's culture or technology or impact, as some of them are really passionate about changing the world? What do you look for?
Yeah, I think all of the above, of course, and that's an ever evolving also and maturing question. I think initially for us, we look for entrepreneurs that think in a global mindset, right? We're a global firm. We want to invest globally, and I think the days of investing in Silicon Valley only and being siloed are gone. They've been gone for a while anyway. But we think that even at the early stage or the seed stage of a company, you should think globally. Think highly disruptive businesses and big markets, right? We're not looking for anything local. We're looking for big markets and what is your addressable market. That's why blockchain is interesting, because blockchain touches, could touch potentially everyone. Every application that you use today could run on potentially blockchains. Same thing with AI. AI could power any applications and will power any applications. So thinking that way, this is the only way you're going to invest in big companies. Venture is about 50, 100x outcomes. So venture-like returns have to be thought at initially. Culture is very important, as you mentioned. Good entrepreneurs and CEOs can create that culture around their company that attracts people and makes those people stick to the business, right? Impact, disruption, So it's all of those above, and our job at the early stages is to identify those characters when we have the first hour, 2 hour discussions, right? It's early. It's easier to invest at a later stage when you guys are, Robbie, in your case, in a growth company where you have cash flows and we can predict, where this is going to go and based on the market, and we jump in. But we go in earlier. We go in at the first meeting, and there's a lot of gut feeling there. But as long as all the other things I mentioned are in place, then we see the potential of that 50, 100x growth, and that's what we do.
Right. And so when you look at culture, founders have a lot of mental health issues, and I can vouch for that. How do you normalize that with vision and passion and guide them through a process of personal growth as well as business growth? Because there's a lot of stresses, as we all know, in startups. It's often remarked as a battle of persistence. So how do you kind of support entrepreneurs through that journey, especially first-time entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, going in at the early stages, again, we become an extension of, insert whatever you'd like, HR, CFO, sales. So we really become an extension of the company, especially early on when there's only a handful of employees. And it's important to have that founder, to identify the founder with that culture. And culture and resilience go really well together, right? Oftentimes, we are wrong in this business as investors, and oftentimes founders are wrong and need to fail. So once you failed, it's okay to get up and do it again and be able to do pivots and readjust. And this is all part of culture. And at the same time, keeping that positive attitude, the positive momentum towards the employees of the company. And kind of, I think that's a key to success.
Got it. And so when I look at, for example, Robbie, your business, what drives you? What are you passionate about? And forget about technology for a second. What's the impact you want to create in the world, and how does technology serve that impact? Because you got a big idea here, and you kind of touched upon it, but how do you democratize access to a system like yours? How do you tokenize things if you were in the crypto space? And kind of explain a little bit about like the technology of impact and how you drive that in your everyday decisions.
Okay. So for my particular in the area, I'm focusing on this technology field. How to say that? Every operating system from day one, they have to be carry the dream to be an international company. So you can survive, right? The operating system industry is very special. You only know the first one and the second one. You never know who is the third one. So, so definitely you have to be carry on the dream that you will be. I think every people focusing on operating system, his dream is running everywhere, right? Running everywhere. So this is our the vision of myself and also the vision of the whole company. And also I'm also have a second identity. I'm taking the role of the company's founder and the CEO, but also I'm taking my duty and responsibility in a social organization we call the open source community. So I'm also the global ambassador for Linux Foundation and the CNCF Foundation. So this is, you mentioned the words democracy, technology. This is a huge way I recognize, and I'm also be part of the way, is I recommend a lot of people to fully take time to totally understand how open source society works. This is a dramatic change. We are entering the new phase we call the open source 3.0. This is a very modern system. Rule and regulation has been proved. It's changed how we consume technology and how we participate into technology innovation. So this is the way I think that's the reason why Elon Musk is so enthusiastic on open source. And this is true. From my personal perspective, open source compared with the other approach is democracy compares with non-democracy approach. And so this is a huge amount of mechanism exists in open source society to to embrace more diversity, innovation with a non-organization, traditional organization way. And also we are also participate and try to practice to how to stimulate that kind of collaboration. That's what you mentioned about the token things. So we are about to, we are trying to implement on some kind of those open source idea into operating system design. For instance, we would like to stimulate people to would like to contribute to their computing power into our operating system, because our operating system is not a single point operating system, it's in an operating network, right? So stimulate people to would like to, because we don't own any infrastructure, so we're welcome to all the infrastructure becoming part of that computing network. So this is a kind of a stimulation process or regulation should be there. So that's one of the token part. And the second token part is we're really focusing on embrace and incubate AI tools, AI application company. So we will have other stimulated process to give them tokens to exchange the computing power, because all of the AI they are very shortage on the AI power, and then also this is most of the cost of the AI company. So if we can provide that kind of stimulation process, just like within the on the blockchain and Web3, there was some hot topic like IO.net, all this stuff like that. This is pretty much like the same thing we did, but we are focusing on utility token, right? Not the generic token. Utility token is trying to stimulate our ecosystem. So this is best for, this is a great supplementary to our business.
Yeah. And so, Hari, when you look at an entrepreneur such as Robbie, and you're famous at your bank for having integrated through APIs some of the best products and services out there in the region, how do you look at Robbie's business and him in particular to be synergistic to building a business and innovating within your own bank system? How do you partner with folks like him?
Probably I'll like to integrate what Sap mentioned and Robbie mentioned. I think number one, when we look at, we have placed innovation, and it's always been a proposition that, or a key differentiator that we have approach our clients. It's not a product base, it's typically on a proposition, but at the back of every proposition, we bring a lot of innovative solution, either through a collaboration. One of the key things, for example, when we look at new fintechs or partners that we want to collaborate with, we look at two aspects. One, what is the benefit that they can bring to enhance our client's proposition? At the end of the day, that's our primary goal. The second, of course, where and how we can partner and grow together with those fintechs. So typically what we look at is probably out of 10 that we shortlist, we look at 2 or 3. We co-create certain things at the foundation of their technology, but applying our client's use case on top of that. And then we determine to say that, okay, it's supposed to be a long-term partnership. And going back to what he said, even though we come even at a matured stage, it's very difficult to evaluate a fintech, to be very, very honest. You might have a cash flow projection of 5 years that shows the positive cash flow, but again, from a risk and governance perspective, it's that little risk that you need to take, but it all depends on the appetite. And you have not thousands of them out there. How do you filter them? How do you bring them? How do you apply them? I think these are set of criteria that we have applied, and we have seen some successful and some, risky, did not get us the right return as well. So, but what has happened is that over the years, we also have learned, most of the financial institution has learned, understood the market, understood that it's not a competition, it's a collaboration that we can do with fintech. But over and above, what we have done is how this proposition going to help our client. That's been a primary goal. And when I was talking to him earlier today also, right, in Saudi, one of the issue is that data, it has to be localized. It can't go outside of Saudi law. There are a lot of restriction when it comes to data. I'm sure applies in many other regions as well. One of the interesting proposition is how can we create a hybrid? Because today is whatever we have developed, to migrate them to another infrastructure, it's not going to be easy. what I can keep, whatever we are doing well and it's working well, as long as we can keep them, but create an hybrid proposition over the cloud by integrating these two tools. That will give us a different way of reaching to our client. See, at the end of the day, we are banking. We want to focus on offering banking as a service, right? Going back to the point on API, we are probably one of the leading bank when it comes to API banking for corporates. So we have about 54 sets of APIs that covers the entire payment services and so on, and we keep enhancing that because we've seen this market, not just from the fintech, even from a corporate perspective, there's a huge demand to have information on a real time. 2 years ago, for a corporate to even understand their balance from the bank, either they have to log into a portal, look at the balances, and retrieve this, download in an Excel format, upload into an ERP. It just takes a lot. Today, most of our corporate clients can click this from their system without even needing to log into any of our system, reflects the balance on a real time. And this could be achieved through API. But what we are doing now is, with this set of API, we are not stopping there. We are going to the client. We are also extending this to our client's client. I think that's one way where it's helping. On the other side, the same set of APIs are also helping us to onboard the fintechs a lot quicker. We can pilot a lot of use cases, pilot it not just with us, pilot it with our corporate client to integrate their data and the solution. Like what I said, at the end of the day, we feel a bank should focus on its core services, which is integrating to the payment, settlements, and the banking regulation perspective. The other infrastructure, we are not good at it. There are people better than us.
Understood.
You have to admit that.
That's why you need synergies, obviously.
Definitely.
That's a great answer. Alex, over to you. I think you discussed a little bit, or you touched upon monetary instability, currencies, algorithms gone wrong in central banks and crypto. What are ways that you can solve for these problems? How do you integrate your wallet system into areas of the world where inflation and monetary instability reigns supreme? And how do you create standards for governments to create inflation-protected instruments that allow people to use those currencies to make their everyday purchases so they don't get priced out with food and fuel prices going higher? Just give us a little overview of your thoughts, if you mind.
Thank you. Well, let's take a quick look at the situation in the world today. So we have a centralized monetary system. It's definitely dollar-centric. And on top of the system being dollar-centric, we're dealing with an intense wave of re-dollarization of local economies, mostly failing economies, which puts an additional load on, let's be completely straightforward, American system, which is forced to bail them out. Now we're dealing with hyperinflation on one side, we were dealing with strong pressure to print more dollars on another side. The economies which are about to fail, could be failing, are in distress. People are in unrest. It causes unrest, revolutions, food prices go up, instability in the world. That's not what we were looking for in 1946 when we signed Bretton Woods Agreement. So, and now we have a polarized model, Bitcoin, excellent deflationary model, constantly going in price, but completely unstable, harassed by governments, even prohibited in some jurisdictions, and volatile. So after all, the system, and we believe this is our philosophy, the system to become, needs to be a hybrid system. Possibly we might be maybe even gravitating towards hybrid synthesized money model, which would be a hybrid banknote made of two currencies. Let's say American dollar and, well, can we talk about like Nigeria. Let's use Naira. Naira is the next one online. And it's not a matter of when, it's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what do? Do we legalize Bitcoin in Nigeria? We already tried that. Do we support Nigeria financially? We know what giving free money away leads to. So all these experiences are in the past. What we're coming up with? What if we create a currency which is comprised 20% of Bitcoin, 40% of American dollar, and 40% of Naira? Now, in order to take down Nigerian economy, you gotta take down US economy and Bitcoin together. Now we're talking about multi-component composite system, which is highly stress resilient, dynamic, completely international, and everybody's gonna love it. And that's what we've been working on. It's called a soft node. Oh, actually, in fact, I have a couple, and you can print it. It's a Bitcoin, real life Bitcoin, and real life USDT. But then again, this is a soft node 1.0. If we're talking about global implementations, we're probably likely talking about synthesizing hybrid currency, private money. We enter in the age of private money.
So you're talking about Bretton Woods 3.0, a combination of different assets embedded into a cryptocurrency, balanced through algorithms, expressed in a wallet, traded on the blockchain.
Exactly. For blockchain as a backbone, we're actually proud to announce that we own the fastest blockchain technology in the world.
Awesome.
I want to live in that world.
Sepp, why don't you give us some thoughts? I mean, you're a venture guy. You hear this pitch. What would you say to that? What are your questions and thoughts around synergies with this entrepreneur? Because I think you believe in these concepts.
I do,
as well.
and I think obviously hindsight is always 20/20, and we are now at a place in the world where it's easier to look back and say, oh, what have we done? The world you just described, Alex, is again a world I would love to live in. But the truth is, disruption doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of these ideas, and we meet hundreds of entrepreneurs every month, a lot of these ideas eventually, don't work. I think disruption is an evolution. It takes time, and then all of a sudden it just happens, right? So I think a world where your move away from fiat currencies is probably going to happen. We're building infrastructure for this now. We're investing in infrastructure for this now. Potentially, blockchain could be that infrastructure. Maybe with AI on top of it. I think blockchain could bring the coordination and automation aspect, and AI could bring the personalization. So that could be really beautiful marriage between the two. But I think, stable coins, as you mentioned, or any type of value transfer asset is the killer app of the blockchain. I've been looking for this since 2013 or 12. And we do have now the killer app, which is transferring money. Payments is a big space that we're focused on. It's a very complex structure when you look at sending money, whether it's a retail, point of sales merchant versus, or even a cross-border payment, remittance payment. All these are slowly being disrupted by technology, by blockchain, by AI. And I think all the stuff that you guys are doing is very important. You're building the pillars. You're building the infrastructure. You're maybe building the application layer. So I think we're getting there, but it takes a lot of time. And we're at the beginning. And we have to be patient.
Yeah, and I think just to conclude this conversation, it seems to me as asset managers and founders and entrepreneurs that what really is the most important thing is the synergies between your two groups, understanding how to create impact and be passionate about something that does things for the world, and also supporting those entrepreneurs that are doing the work that's necessary. That's the real technology, right? It's the ability to have passionate problem-solving mentality with necessary professional support and distribution to get you guys going. So we're all humans at the end of the day. Technology is just numbers. So I'm glad we had a chance to all speak. Thank you very much, everyone. Big round of applause for our esteemed guests today. Thank you for joining us.